Today I want to talk about painting a landscape with an analogous color scheme. Now, an analogous color scheme is when you take, this is my color wheel here, when you take 3 to 4 colors that are next to each other on the color wheel, and you just use those to paint the landscape, along with a complement straight across. So my analogous color scheme is going to be with blue and violets. So I'm going to take blue, blue-violet, violet, and red-violet. That's my 4 colors I'm going to use in a color scheme. Then I'm going to use orange as the complement to add some complementary color, but also use that to mute the set of blues and blue-violets. Okay, I have my drawing here on the canvas board, and I do these color schemes, color studies, pretty small because I'm just trying to see how things work out color-wise. So pretty small. I have my colors laid out here, my blue-violet, violet, and red-violet. And for these, again, color studies, I usually do 2 or 3 values of each one just to make it a little bit faster. And then I have the orange down below as the complement for these 4 colors. But this is ultramarine blue with white. This is ultramarine blue with a little bit of alizarin crimson to make it a bluish violet. And then I have the Winsor Newton mauve, which is more violet. And then the red violet, which is alizarin crimson, tiny bit of blue, ultramarine blue. And then cad orange down here. And my subject is in southern Utah, and it's sunset. Everything to me is more of a bluish violet, blue to blue violet to red violet, with the complement of the sun hitting the clouds and creating the light in the background. Now, the light might have worked better if it was yellow, but I'm going to stick with my color scheme here of orange instead of yellow. And if the values are right, and I have the temperature right, in other words, the warm and the cool of the shadow and sunlit areas, then it'll still work. That doesn't mean I can't cheat. I mean, I could come back and add a little bit of yellow-orange for where the effect of the sun is. But for now, I'm just gonna stick with the colors here. And I can just pull back and forth and blend whatever I want here, just get the right value range. And I'm gonna start more in the blue, violet to violet, and get the distant hills blocked in. The key is to really simplify. The more I can simplify, the easier it is to get the right shape and value. Then color becomes a lot easier if I simplify the other 2, shape and value. So I already have my colors kind of set up so I can really focus on the value. Now I'm going to go more from the red-violet to the violet. This is more blue-violet to violet. Now I'm going to go red-violet to violet and get and it's all roughly in the same value range here. Get the foreground scrubbed in. Could do this with palette knife too. It'd probably be a little faster. And I can come back over this and make adjustments and changes. So I just want to get the idea that this is all dark in here. And I'm going, again, between the blue, blue-violet, red-violet, and violet. Coming back with a little more violet near the bottom. And getting everything covered. I could do, if it was a larger canvas, I would do this a bit thinner first. But no sense doing it real thin with a small canvas. Now for the very background, I'm going to go more blue with a little blue-violet for the mountain back in here. And the important thing is the value. How dark and light am I making these shapes? Because the color is pretty much already decided. This is my range of color. I just got to fit these into the right value. Now for the clouds back in here, I have dark and light clouds, and then I have the sky. So I'm going to go with the clouds, and I see them as kind of a blue-violet orange. a little more on the orange side, even in the shadow of the clouds, because the light is filtering through them. Maybe a bit lighter in some areas. And I'm going to have color harmony because I'm using the same set of colors. And again, this is a color study for me, so I don't feel the need to be perfect. Like, you know, sometimes if we're trying to do a finished painting, it can really mess with us as far as being afraid to make a mistake. When I know this is practice, I'm trying to figure out how the colors work together, it kind of frees me up. I tend to think outside the box a bit more. Now I'm going to get the blue skies, just the ultramarine blue, leaving a little bit of space for the bright light hitting the top of the clouds and the clouds behind these shadowed clouds. So even though I see these clouds as they're white clouds, obviously, but they're in shadow, so they're going to be more on the bluish gray side, but because of the light filtering through, they're now more of an orange gray rather than a blue gray. And I will get my lightest light, strongest color here without any of the complement for my brightest light right in there. And that's a bit dark still, so I'm going to go trying to get a bit lighter on this orange. And this is just straight orange and white. And it'll just blend into the clouds there. It gets a soft edge. And again, with that straight orange, I'll hit the lightest light up in here. Also, the sun is just right there. So everything else is slightly muted compared to that. Everything has a little bit of the complement in it, except for right there and there. That's going to be my strongest, brightest light. A little bit of a blue hill back in here. Again, just, I can think outside the box here because I'm not worried about a finished painting, which is what these color studies are for. And if I do a bigger one of this, and I use this color scheme, this analogous color scheme, I will use it, I will definitely stick with it to get everything filled in. Then I will use the other colors, the cad yellow light, some viridian maybe, or some bluish green. But everything will be blocked in with the color scheme, and that'll hold things together. Now, the foreground gets a lot warmer as it comes down. And this violet to red violet I blocked it in with, the foreground, that'll hold everything together as I add some orange in with violet, red violet, a little more orange. Orange and red violet, I think, more is what I'm going for here. And then the value, get the right value. So it's a little bit warmer, slightly lighter in front. Trying to stay somewhat warm back in here and keep the background hills the lightest, the coolest. Everything's cool in here except for the sunlit clouds, but within the coolness, there's variations of cool. Some things are cooler than others, just like some things are lighter than others. There's also a temperature change within the cool shadow. Do some little bit of detailing in here on this cliff, which is close to the kind of focal point. Same thing with the blue. Keep hitting the camera. back to the clouds here. Again, the clouds are an orange, but a muted, cooler orange than the sunlit clouds that are really bright orange. So I'm going to take more violet, mute it with some orange. Well, the blue, violet, and orange here, I'm making kind of a gray and adding it to the red violet. And I'm going to break this up just a little bit value-wise and temperature-wise. Very abstract because there's not much in this that's real definite shape-wise. It's more the subtle value changes. Now I want to go back to a cleaner blue-violet. So I'm going to mix up here and keep it a little cleaner. There's no orange in it or really anything else in it, and I want to get it a little darker. And that's a bit too dark. Now my darkest darks, which I'm just going to get blue and violet, or they're going to be the trees. But the trees aren't greenish looking in this light because they are so dark, and that color scheme kind of envelops everything in there. I'm going to have a variation of shape here. For these trees. So I don't have any green and I don't have any yellow to make green with the blue. So my darkest dark, which in the photograph is that dark green shrubbery and trees, are going to be just a slightly muted violet. Trying to vary the shapes and the distances between them. And a little bit of warm gray, a lot lighter. Way back in here. It's still in shadow. It's a little value change. Way back in the background. And that's all I'm really looking for, is just different value changes here. Using this set of colors. Now with a softer brush of a synthetic, I'm going to start pulling, clean the brush off because I don't want to get this dirty. Pulling that, I don't know what you call it, that light from the sun that creates those rays. And a little bit of rim lighting on these clouds of the real bright sunlight. And value-wise, I can go almost white on this. Just make sure I have enough orange in it that makes it warm. And yellow would work, obviously, in here in the bright sunlight. But the orange works too, and it carries through the harmony of the color because I'm using the same colors. If it was bigger, I'd probably come back into this and add more yellow. I'm gonna add a little bit of red violet to the orange down here at the bottom. And try to adjust the values, soften edges. A bit of snow in the mountains up in here. Don't want to get into detail too much, but a little bit, just to suggest the variation of colors and values. Okay, looking it over, there's a few things. Maybe get it a bit sharper up in here. And colors are blending together now, so I've got to be careful not to make mud. It's a bit too dark. Trying to pop some of these darker darks. Don't be afraid to go over something that you like. Don't fall in love with a nice brush stroke. Because if you painted it once, you can paint it again. I'd rather correct something and have to repaint an area. Correct it when I know it doesn't work as well. And I needed to get these a bit darker, this cliff back in here. Everything needs adjusting. As everything gets filled in, then you look at the value relationships and decide where you need to adjust things to make them work. Well, that'll do it. And again, it's all a blue, blue-violet, violet, red-violet with the complement of orange to get the effect of that. And an analogous color scheme is just a bit more peaceful. Whereas if I have like a split complementary, or I'm using all my colors on the palette, all 11 of them, I'm going to have a lot more contrasting color temperatures. Here, there's not a lot of contrasting color other than the orange and the blue right in there. But it's a lot more peaceful. Colors harmonize a lot more, especially in here, up in here, because I'm sticking with the same set of colors that are close together on the color wheel. Well, I hope that was helpful. And if you would like the video, that would be great. And if you want to learn more about color schemes, watch this next video where I explain the benefits of practicing with color schemes.